Before we continue to the tools that are below, down here, let me give you one hint. You can undo, but you cannot redo on Pixelab. So be careful before you press undo, right? So take note. We have this icon for alphabet, this icon for images, this icon for the background for adjusting and making changes to the background, and similarly this also works on the background, right? So let's begin with the first one. This icon here opens your current project and helps you. You can use it to just use the example of the background that we have here. So we are not focusing on this. So we have the options of text. When you introduce a text into your work, then you will have these other options. Now with these options, you can delete, copy, that is duplicate that text, and then you can position it, whether you want to move it to the front or to the back. All right, let me find a way to differentiate them so that you can see when I make one, take one to the back or something. Okay, so now you can see that we have this text here, so I can put it at the back. Let me go back here so you can see to the back. Then the smaller text is now, the lighter one is on top of it. Okay, so you can use this to control that to the back, to the front. Then with this icon here, position, you can move, you can determine the size, how fast, or what you want something to move, and then you use the cursor here to move it, right? So just watch. I can see how it's slipping now, but if I make it 1, it's going to be moving gradually. So you can use it to move your elements around. You can use it to move your elements around, especially to ensure that they are properly aligned. So take note of that. We have relative position. With relative position, you can move an element to a particular section or a particular part of your canvas. For example, you can to the top, down, to the right, to the left. Then you can have it at the middle, or you can have it center, right? So that's what you achieve with relative position. Very useful. Then you can control the size of your text with this, right? You can increase, you can reduce the size of your text. Next, we have what is called padding, and padding is about the space between what you've typed. Now, I will explain this more in details later when we have more text, when you have a lot of text. So we can explain this padding a lot more. It's just about the space to the right and to the left that you give to your image. Okay, oh sorry, I mean to your text. We are dealing with text here. All right, then if you want to undo anything you've done here, just click on this arrow button and it will return back to default. Okay, at every point in time you click on that mark to pass and agree to what the changes you made. Next we have the color, so you can change the color of the text from this part, right? And you can use either direct color or gradient. So with gradients you can add 2 or more colors, blend them in a particular way. Sorry, let me do something. Let me this background, let me make it white so you will get what I'm doing here. All right, good. So let's work on this. Now we can't work on that, so we go back to text. All right, so now with colors here, if I intend to use gradients, I can click on this plus button and set the color I want to use for the first color, and then the color I want to use. When I click on this, notice that this down part is turning golden, so I can use that to select the color I want to change it to. You can use this slider to determine the depth, how bright or how dark the color is, right? How transparent it is and all of that with this slider. Okay, and then you click OK, so you can see that it is reflecting here. Okay, and let's continue. Next we have texture. A texture, you want to import an image into your text, right? So you can click on this and then it will take you to your gallery and you'll be able to bring stuff in, right? You'll be able to bring things in that you can use to fill that text images. Okay, next we have opacity. Opacity is like your transparency in Canva, all right? So you can use it to reduce or increase the transparency of your text. All right, you can add after shadow or what have you here. All right, let's move. Next we have mask. With your mask, you can select what part, if you want a part of your image to be displayed or not. I mean a part of your text. So if I click on this, okay, let me do that again. When you have to make this selected, if you click, you can see that a part of it is now taken away, right? But then that's not the only option. You can have it in or out. So if I have it out, that means the part that mask is not touching is what will be removed. Okay, so take note of that. All right, let's continue. We have the fonts. So usually you have some fonts on your Pixelab that came with the app, but you can add your own fonts, and then probably I'll show you how to add fonts as well to your Pixelab app so that you can have more apps, fonts to use for your projects. Then we have styles. This is where you can make your work a text bold, have it in italic, have it underlined, and all of that. And yeah, this is to remove formatting. Just take note of that. In case you've made some changes and you don't want them anymore, just click on that. It will take away the formatting, and that's how that works. So with this curve, you can make your text. You can make it curve. Maybe you want to create a text and put it in a circle, right? So you can use this for that. Next, we have a background. If you want to have background to your text, so you can control that padding here, so you can see the space to the right, to the left, all right, and then you can control the color of that background. Now it's going to be attached to that text, so it's not a separate thing. It's attached to that text, and you can control it as you please actually. So the top you can see, and the bottom of the padding, so you can control all that. Let me remove this curve here. You see that? Then you can click, and then let me come back to background, reduce the right padding. I hope you're following. So it's very interesting, very easy to use. Right, let's reduce the top too. Now you can use this plus or minus too, this plus or minus, just in case you think you are doing it too much, so you can use that. Okay, and then you click on this to save that. Then you have alignment. You justify your center. This works best when you have other text, right? You have like sentence, a sentence or more, so you can use this to determine the alignment of those texts. Next, we have the line spacing. Now we don't have lines, we only have just one line here, but if you increase it, you see that change over there. So it will create a space between a particular line of text to the other line of text. And then we have stroke. Stroke, give weight to like an outline to your text, all right? So it's very smooth, and you can control the stroke color and the width of it and all of that. You can do all that here. So we'll explore more on that later, all right? And then you have inner shadow, outer shadow. These are things you can explore, and as you play with them, you make discoveries. And there's one thing to take note of, and that's the fact that it's not advisable to use all of these things in the same project. It can get really messy, right? So you have to use them discreetly to accomplish your goal. So you can unbox text here. I rarely use this. You don't have to. So you can control perspectives of a text. If you see, now I have to enable this, so you see what I'm talking about. This is very powerful, right? This is very powerful. Okay, so let's undo that and continue. Next, we have these other options about 3D, making your text 3D, adding shadow and all of that. There are things you can explore much later. Let me show you a few things. You can increase the depth of the, let me reduce the background so that I think it will help to bring this so that you can focus on what matters here. All right, so let's go back to the 3D. You can rotate it. You can rotate your text after you apply 3D. You can rotate it. All right, you can add shadow to it. Let's go back to the 3D, so you can increase the depth, darken the, and you can rotate it. You can see the background and all of that. Okay, so that's what the 3D text is about. And you can, yes, of course, add reflections to your work. You see what we're talking about. So this is very powerful, and you can create amazing things really easily with this app. Okay, so in the next video, we'll talk about the other tools pertaining to objects or images here. See you then.